Welcome to the Unpressed Podcast, our weekly virtual cocktail hour between two old friends on opposite coasts. I'm Jenny, a single mom living in Silicon Valley in the land of tech bros, venture capital, and questionable wellness trends.
And I'm Talbot, gay, married, living on the East Coast, dividing my time between New York chaos and Palm Beach drama.
We've survived marriages, divorces, bad highlights, worse decisions, and somehow we're still laughing.
Mostly to keep from crying. So every week we pour a drink and unpack whatever life, love, or our aging bodies have thrown at us lately.
No filters, no pretending to have it all together.
Just two friends, a little too honest and completely unpressed. Jenny, it's so great to see you in some ways, but really sad in another way.
Really sad. We are not supposed to be on split screen here, Talbot.
No, I know. So for everybody who's listening, I was supposed to be already there. I was supposed to be on a plane this morning with the dog, supposedly going out to Palm Springs to see Jenny and her daughter. And I tore my bicep on Thursday.
Is that because you're just so strong?
I'm so strong. No, if I was so strong, I wouldn't have torn the bicep.
Oh, it's so awful to even think about.
Well, the good thing is it doesn't, once it happens, it doesn't hurt. But it kills me because I was supposed to be there with you and with Charlie.
Yeah.
And seeing her, and we were going to do some of these live.
Yeah.
And now, instead of coming out to Palm Springs, I am headed to New York City tomorrow to meet with my surgeon on Monday.
Yeah.
To schedule the surgery. I'm so sorry not to be there with you. But we have a great conversation tonight.
We do.
I really like the topic.
I think we picked an interesting topic. And the topic is money.
Money. And Jenny, what is it about money that resonates most with you? Not in terms of just the concept, but the topic. When you, what does it make you think about?
Actually, I think my first instinct is a little bit of anxiety.
Yeah,
panic.
Mine too. And why is that? Why do you feel panic?
I think it's like a safety security thing that money somehow represents being able to support yourself. And if you don't have enough, what are you going to do?
Right.
And we're going to go through a couple different ways that people think about money. Not everybody thinks the way I do.
Right.
And actually, Talbot and I don't think exactly the same way, but we do have a little bit of this scarcity
mindset.
Right.
And I think it's interesting because we kind of alluded to this in a previous podcast when I was talking about my ability to sort of step away and focus on my writing, which was maybe taken out of context, made it sound a little bit too lackadaisical as it relates to money. But that has been the result of years and years of working on an overly developed scarcity mindset, which has actually in the past impeded me. So it wasn't so much me saying, oh, isn't life great? Everything's fantastic. I can do anything I want in my life. That's not the case. But it shifted a mindset which used to keep me from doing anything outside the norm. But who was that?
Right. And I think sometimes led you to take jobs that you didn't really love.
Of course.
Because you didn't want to not have a job.
Right.
And I remember we had a conversation once, and you'd left a company because it was just the whole company was a disaster, and you were panicked. And I said, do you already have yourself homeless on the side of the road with not a penny to your name and you're panhandling? And you said yes.
The answer was yes. Yes. My therapist used to call this catastrophic thinking. I'm sure most therapists would call this catastrophic
thinking.
But she would say
the worst thing that could happen.
She would say to me that I took catastrophic thinking to the next level. She said, we did this exercise once. So walk me through how you think. And I said, okay, I've lost my job. Okay, you've lost your job. I'll never get another job. She's like, well, okay, we've already crossed over in catastrophe. She's like, okay, keep going. I said, I will be out of all my money in 5 years. She said, okay, well, that's not even feasible. keep going. I
Right.
said, I will be sweeping streets and eating cat food.
Yeah.
She said, wait a second. You went from losing your job to sweeping streets and eating cat food in 4 steps. That is catastrophic thinking to the next level. So, but I think one of the things that I did early on when we first got together, and this just was my own insecurity, was I insisted that we keep everything separate. And probably in the back of my mind, that was because I needed to know what was mine and what I had. Now, in the intervening years, after working through a lot of this stuff, we've gone way beyond, like everything is commingled. The only thing that's not commingled is our day-to-day checking accounts. Her name is Rachel Cruz. We were just reading some of her stuff. We watched her video about these 7 tendencies. And I think as we were going through them, I'm like, oh boy, I can see exactly.
It's a good framework. Yeah.
Right.
I think it's good. We can go through the 7 tendencies, and each one has a different polar side to it. And you can sort of self-name what you are. And then once you know that, it's really helpful to communicate with your spouse, and also to maybe soften whatever your extreme might be.
Right. What I loved about Rachel was she was doing this from a non-judgmental perspective. So she presented the 2 poles.
Yeah.
But she gave both poles challenges about how to move more to the center.
Yeah.
So Jenny, the first pole that I read or saw her talk about was the pole of spender or saver. Which do you prioritize as more important in your life? Do you prioritize saving, which can be a negative because then you deny yourself so much to put everything in a rainy day fund, which may never come. Or on the flip side, the spenders don't save anything. They don't ever believe any rainy day is going to come. So there's a problem on both ends. But so which would you say? You're a spender or a saver? I know the answer.
I'm a saver.
Yep, I knew it. Me too.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was my upbringing. I was raised by 2 frugal people, and my father is an economist who always was predicting the end of the world.
Right.
So that was really drilled into our heads, was you really don't know what's coming.
Right.
And anything that looks like easy money is fake.
Absolutely.
Like there's no easy way. And if it isn't hard, then it probably isn't real.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I the 100% the same way. I think both of my parents came from a very considered background, mostly because there wasn't an overabundance of money. There was never, a dire need.
Yeah.
But there was never an overabundance of money. And plus my family is Scottish, so that, Scottish background. But so I think, and it's funny because if my mother will tell you the same thing if you asked her. And if she listens to this, she'll chime in. I am 100% sure. Because she used to say, I was always the saver, to the point where I had a paper route, babysat, everything. All the money went into my bank account, and I wouldn't spend. My brother, same household, same parents, is a spender. My choice was to save
It is so
everything.
interesting because you think it's the upbringing. My children are polar opposites here. Both can probably soften a little bit, and they will do better when they are completely managing their own money.
Sure, of course. We all do better when on either end, you are denying yourself something, right? You're particularly, since I'm such a saver, I looked at her challenge and said, she's really speaking to me, which is, don't put everything off because life is not guaranteed.
Yeah.
Not to waste money. But if you deny, you're missing the opportunity to share experiences with friends, with family.
Yeah. It's so hard, though, for you and me because I'm worried I won't have enough at the end.
But that's why we're going to live together in our little commune.
Oh, right. We are in our Golden Girls ranch. If anybody wants to join us, we are going to have probably 4 or 5 bedrooms.
Right, exactly. Exactly. You'll have to pay because that'll be the way we.
Yeah. We'll all pay, but we're going to have a chef and a very cute PT. So.
Yes, because I seem to injure myself every day.
Yes.
So I thought
we
that
might
was
even
good.
need an orthopedist in the house. I don't know.
We'll need it on call. Okay, so the next one was nerd or free spirit. And when I first saw this, I had no idea what she was talking about.
Yeah, she was talking about people who love their budgets and everything written down and recorded. And the other one just sort of says, I think it'll be okay. Like they're not really watching the checking count and they just sort of assume that money comes in and money goes out and it's fine. It's a little bit different than being a spender, and it's a little bit different than the scarcity abundance. It's
No,
more like, are you really organized,
this is
right?
you love to be an accountant. You
Yeah.
love to balance and check and ledger. So
Yeah.
which are you? I don't know the answer to this question. I don't know which you are.
Um gosh, I have a little bit of both. Like I was going to say I'm a free spirit because I I just always spend within my means, so I don't really track stuff.
Right.
But on the other hand, I will say I check my brokerage accounts not infrequently
Oh, interesting.
because it's
Interesting.
very comforting to just
Oh, how
see, and that's an
interesting.
anxiety thing, is go
Yeah.
in there
Yeah.
and be like, okay, it's there still.
Yeah. See, it's interesting. I used to be a full nerd. I would balance my checkbook down to the penny.
Mm-hmm.
Down to the penny. And when I was investing my own money when there wasn't a lot of it, I was self-directing and doing all of that. And I was doing exactly what you were doing. When it got to a point where I said, I don't know how to do this. I gave up. Not gave up. I said, this is not my expertise. I'm going to turn this over to somebody who really knows what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I moved more towards, I wouldn't say free spirit, but I became less anxious about checking and boxing and ticking,
Yeah.
tacking and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe some of it really depends on where you are in your life. If you're early on and every paycheck just pays the rent,
Right.
I think and I think it would be very tough to be in a couple where one person is watching the dollars and the other one is not.
And that's why I would say for Bill and I, keeping personal checking accounts separate is
Yeah.
important because
Yeah.
we have the same agreement as to long-term planning and funding our retirement
Mm-hmm.
and all of that. So the next thing that she had was experience or things. I think both of us, particularly as we've gotten older, really appreciate experiences more than that.
I don't know that I'm an experienced person. I think I'm a things person.
I think you're giving yourself not as much credit as you're worth.
I guess I get this from my parents, where the number one thing I spend my money on is my kids' education, and then my home, and then travel probably is the third. And my own education, I'm always investing in my continuous learning. So I take great pride in my home, and I love the creativity of making a beautiful home, and it brings me great joy.
Right,
Just
but
great joy.
that's but two things on that because one, that's part of who you are professionally as well. You have a great eye and you do you provide design work for your friends and you do amazing work and people hire you to do that. So part of your ability to create a great home is you honing your own eye so that you can do what you do professionally. But you're
Yeah.
also incredibly generous with the homes that you develop. You're always inviting people in. You're always making people feel welcome. You're always hosting people for dinner to stay over. So yes, maybe in some ways you're investing in the
Mm,
aesthetic, but
yeah.
you're also being very open and hospitable about making sure that people come in and join you for that. So in
Yeah.
my mind, that is not there's a professional element to it, and B, there's an experiential element to it. You know,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah. I get a real kick out of people being guests in my home and feeling really comfortable.
of
Like
course.
really like just like, oh, I slept so well, and
Right.
oh, um so yeah, that brings me a lot of joy. And when I do my interior design work, um I want my clients to feel really comfortable, but also like their lives work better because of the way the space was laid out.
Of course.
So yes, it should be beautiful, but it's like their life should be more comfortable because
it's functional. It has to be functional.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what I love about your spaces is that, and maybe it's because I've just known you so long and you give me a little bit more latitude. I have no qualms like in going to your kitchen and like rooting through the drawers and finding what it is I need or whatever. It's just you've made it, you've given us that kind of permission, and you've created a world where that just, people come into your home and they feel like they're family, and so they don't worry about where is everything. I could find it. All right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's go. Okay. So now we'll get to a tough one: quality or quantity.
This is tricky. This woman described it as, do you just need a couple of good pieces if we're talking about clothing, or do you like to have more and you sort of have something that's trendy and fun and you have more choices? Do you have 2 pairs of good shoes, or do you have 6 pairs of medium price shoes?
Right. Shoes is a good one to talk about. And I have to say, you have introduced me to a new guilty pleasure. Those frickin' Target feathered flurry birds.
That all my girlfriends and I love.
And that is all about quality, and there is no quantity because they cost $2.50.
No reverse. It's all about quantity.
Oh, quantity, not quality.
Yeah. It's all about quantity, not about quality. These little things, like there are these little figurine felt birds that come out every holiday, and they've got festive outfits on. They have Halloween ones and Christmas ones. They are absolutely adorable, and they cost like $5. Yeah.
So wait a second. We had a conversation over Christmas. We called you on Christmas to say hello and wish you a Merry Christmas. You showed me your birds. And then I went on Target.com.
The British tally-ho
I'm looking
versions.
at it. They're right there. They're right. Yeah. I went and bought.
I was like, I have to show you this. The British ones. They're so
7
darn
of them.
cute.
I bought 7 of them.
Yeah.
7 of them.
I know.
And they're $2.
Now people come in my home and they're like, "Are you that weird lady?"
Yes, I am that weird. Lady. Because the other thing too is that I have those buyer's carolers.
Oh, those I do not like, Talbot.
Bill says.
Bill and I completely agree. Does anybody know what these are? These are these famous buyers figurines. They're
buyers
carolers.
BYERS. They're actually made in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
They're all handmade in this small, like, family-owned factory, and they're not inexpensive. They're like $85, $95, $100 a buck, and they're like yay high. And they're all, I mean, the reason they're called carolers is because they're dressed in every single possible outfit you can imagine. And they're like this.
I hope people are on YouTube watching this, because Talbot has his mouth in an O shape. And I think it looks like the guy in the painting, The Scream.
Oh, Bill calls them the orgasmic carolers.
They do look like people
they're having the
who are
O face.
about to give a BJ. I'm so sorry, but they are so disturbing.
We'll have to put the explicit rating on this one. Anyway, so all right, so quality, quantity, blah blah blah. Yes.
How many of those do you have?
We're not talking about it. Anyway, so I think it is totally appropriate sometimes to fall on the quality side.
Yeah.
Because there is such a thing as known as investment buying. Like if you go back, because I did an article once on waste in the apparel industry, particularly as it relates to fast fashion.
Fashion. That's what they call it, right? Where they can make it from end to end
for $20, and we can buy it, and you don't expect it to last for more than 3 months, and you throw it away.
Disposable.
But what it does is there is something like 60 billion tons of apparel being thrown away every year. But what they said is, if you go back to like 1920, people would buy 6 outfits a year.
Yep.
And they were spending, on average, much more But that's
Yeah.
because the quality, they would wear, those outfits would wear and wear and wear. It's like, if you want to buy a pair of shoes, you want to buy a pair of English bespoke shoes because you will wear them for 35 years.
Yeah, I even did this when I lived in New York and I was living on $22,000 a year. I took my shoes to the cobbler and had them redo the soles.
And if you have a good
Like they
pair of
used to.
if you have a really good pair of shoes, if you have a
Yeah.
pair of shoes that
These
are,
weren't even that good. I just was so poor that,
so it's a question of,
yeah.
that's what the Italians used to say. And when you go to Milan, you're like, why does everybody look so amazing? It's because they spend money on buying quality outfits that they can
Yeah.
wear time and time again. So now there are these next two.
Abundance, scarcity, and safety or status. What does she mean by safety or status?
It was this notion of, do I spend or do I save? A lot of these sort of overlap.
Yeah.
I've always felt that safety is more important than status. And again, that has at times been a very negative, because you get into a point where I'm going to deny myself everything in order to feel safe.
I also think it makes you judge other people. So if you're very safety focused, if somebody is status focused, it's very easy to think of them as shallow or materialistic. You can get a little judgy when you're in
Of
the
course,
safety camp.
and that's totally not fair, because I'm operating from a very, or you are operating from a very specific place, which is, we have been trained that safety is more important than anything. And
Right.
that's not to say that safety is in and of itself is not a bad concept. But when it gets to a point of being self-denial, it's a problem. And on the flip side, if all you're chasing is status,
Yeah.
that becomes a problem. But so
Well, then you
this,
never get there, right? Because there's always somebody with more
Crazy.
money or more stuff. But I know people who maybe have plenty of money, but they're anti-status. So they'll drive their Volvo for 20 years because it's like they want their status is that they don't have status.
but that becomes a whole different thing. That becomes the whole
It's
notion of
still
quiet.
status, right?
It's called quiet
yeah.
luxury, and it's this whole thing. But
Yeah.
I will say, of the next one I thought was actually a much more interesting concept, which is this notion of abundance or scarcity. Because
Which
she
it
actually,
generally is the motivation behind spender saver or safety status, right? Like the motivation behind it is, do you see the world as having plenty, or do you see the world as not having enough?
right. But the notion of abundance or scarcity is one thing that drives everybody, and it's driven every war conflict. It has driven everything,
Yeah.
which is this notion of, do I have enough? And if I have enough, can I give to someone else? And if I don't have enough, should I not give to somebody else? It becomes this whole notion.
Well, I think the scarcity abundance is sort of the core of all this, because if you think of the pie is only so big, and so if my neighbor has a lot, then I don't have enough. Or if you feel like you're always going to be in a deficit, you're not necessarily going to be very generous with other people.
I guess the question is it a pie, or is there an infinite amount for everybody to have? So you can be abundant without somebody else being less abundant. That becomes the
Right.
question.
Right.
Yeah. No, it becomes an interesting question. But so, okay, let's talk about the last one, which I really find fascinating, which I never thought about as a financial tendency. This notion of spontaneous giver or planned giver.
So
So-
the spontaneous giver, she said, was somebody who hears about a nonprofit that just blows their mind and they write a check for $1,000, versus someone who says, well, I'm going to think about it and I'm going to do some research. And I always do my giving at the same time every year. Thank you so much. And they feel like they want to be a little organized about it. Would you say that's right? What you're
Yes, I think
saying?
that's right. I think that's right. I believe you need to be both. I believe that you need to
Uh-huh.
find those things that matter to you, and you give them a notion that you're going to continuously give to them so
Yeah.
they are able to fulfill their mission, so that they have an ability to grow and meet whatever the need is. But I don't think that means you shouldn't be able to, or you shouldn't want to
Uh-huh.
be able to say, in a moment's need, and we've seen it time and time again, whether it's war, whether it's natural disasters, whatever, you still need to be able to say, this is something that has touched me. And I realize that these are people who are hurting right now. This wasn't
Uh-huh.
something that I considered because nobody in the universe was planning this.
I'm a huge proponent of multi-year gifts
Of course.
and unrestricted gifts. And I
Of,
worked in the nonprofit sector for many, many years. That the multi-year gifts are super important so that they can hire the right people, they can plan ahead, they can build for a future. So I am with you. I really like planned giving where you find an organization or a couple that you really care about and you can get involved, but that you really concentrate your money and if you give it to them for multiple years. And that's the way you're going to get much more quality outcomes.
I 100% agree with you.
I would say, as I go back over these 7 tendencies, what I see all over them is potential for marital strife.
Of course. No,
Because
you're
you're
right.
sharing finances. And if one of you is a spender and one is a saver, or one of you wants to spend money on experiences like a cooking class, and the other one wants to buy a fancy car, and you both think each other's crazy, um, this maybe gives some language for people to say, hey, without judgment, right? I do think that people who like experiences get very judgmental
Yep.
about people who buy things. And
Yep.
I think the same is true for safety and status.
Absolutely.
But
100%.
everybody has to sort of be open-minded, especially when you're trying to make these financial decisions together. And amazingly, like it seems to be that spenders and savers find each other.
Well, and again, it goes back to that whole notion of opposites attract, because I think it's
Mm-hmm.
important. But I think you're right, Jenny. I think you've hit the nail on the head, which is this is a really good way to think about people's approaches to finances
Mm-hmm.
and open up a dialogue. These are who we are, whether we're hardwired, softwired this way. Neither one is better or worse. It's who we have come to be. And
Mm-hmm.
as long as you can have an open conversation about both of these and challenge either one of them to think about the other, that's what
Correct.
matters. That's
Yeah,
what
how can you
matters.
be open-minded? And they are very deep-seated and they tend to have a lot of value judgment. You know, our parents certainly had a particular point of view.
Well, and it was a very, very misogynistic opinion. It was like, I make the
Yeah.
money, you do this.
Okay, well, that brings up one last thing.
Oh yeah, what's that?
To the people who are listening, where over time you have delegated different chores and tasks between you and your spouse, which is like the only way to get stuff done, right? So, what often happens, and it often happens to women, is that we delegate the finances to our husbands. And we wake up one day and we have no idea what our financial
You're
situation
you're you're
is.
absolutely right. I'm dealing with this with my mother right now, and my father's dealing with dementia, and she's having to take the reins. So your point is very clear. Do not simply delegate.
Don't
Be a
delegate.
partner. Be a
Yeah,
partner.
and
Understand
don't
what's
just
going on.
get like an annual report, like,
No,
oh,
But literally, even though it's painful to have to double up on a task, this is one of the tasks that I would not delegate away. It makes you more equals. It allows you to have conversations about
One,
these different money values
100%.
from a position of we both have the same information.
Of course. And you don't need to necessarily agree, but you need the same information.
Yeah.
All right, Jenny. Well, this has been amazing. And I love this topic. I think it's really important to talk about. And even though we try to treat it with a little bit of humor, this is an incredibly important thing for people to talk about and understand that we all have our own issues when it comes to money. And that doesn't make it right or wrong.
Yeah, just naming it is powerful. And don't judge your spouse. Be open-minded.
Don't judge your spouse. You can judge your kids, but don't judge your spouse.
Correct.
All right, Jenny. I love you so much. Can't wait to see you.
Take care.
So if you enjoyed listening to that, please support us by subscribing to our channel and by telling everyone you possibly know. You can email us at theunpressedpodcast@gmail.com. That's all one word, the Unpressed Podcast, no spaces. You can also follow us at Instagram. Our handle is @UnpressedPodcast. Thanks so much.